Thank you for that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Online Presenters. I'm your Sergeant at Arms, Sunny Fridge, aka Dr. Sunny. This meeting of the Online Presenters Toastmasters Club has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you should be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. However, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, we welcome you to apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by our club members. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it displays your name and role. Hover over your video, right-click, and select Rename to do so. Also, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. As a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. And please note, we will be recording the meeting. Your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. And now, please help me welcome our club president, Joni Laidlaw. Joni, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Sergeant at Arms. We have an interesting meeting ahead of us today because we're going to be sculpting beauty. But before we do that, we're going to be discussing the beauty of online presenters and the star of the month. Now, for those who don't know who that is or what that is, online presenters knows that we are stars among stars, and as such, we have the kudos to give to those of us who are doing amazing. What I'm going to ask that we all do is look out for our members who are being amazing and shining brightly. You can submit that person that you suggest to our Vice President of Education, Vice President of Public Relations, or to me as President, and our executive team will pick our star of the month. So that way all of online presenters can be aware of the excellent contribution, because as we say in Jamaica, encouragement, sweet labor, it helps to get a pat on the back, and we plan to do so. So we're going to be moving in to our agenda for today, and to take us through is our Toastmaster of the day. Help me welcome, well, me. Thank you, me. We have a very interesting meeting, as I stated, and today in 1504, Michelangelo's statue of David was unveiled. No, not our David, not the David from the Bible either. That's the one it was based on, though, and it was actually housed in Florence in a gallery. Now, what is really amazing about this, of course, is that we all actually have some idea about this statue. But I'm about to provide everyone with a bit of fun facts, not just the ones that we know, for example, that it's based on the biblical figure David, who killed the giant Goliath with a stone from his slingshot, but some unusual ones, and I'll start you off with a little taste. For example, the marble that was used, he wasn't the first person to actually sculpt it. It was used by 2 sculptors. Now, I cannot pronounce this name, so I'm going to spell it because I don't want to ruin it. Agostino Duccio, and I'm not even going to pretend like I won't bite my tongue to do this. And later as well, there was Antonio Rossellino. Now, those two also worked with the same block of marble that later gave life to David. Both of them abandoned it due to disagreements with the client's little experience in the processing of statues of considerable size, or maybe because the block was just too difficult to work with. Who knows? But either way, based on that, isn't it fun to know that one man's trash turned out to be another man? People look at it in awe and have been replicating it for years. So in keeping with the theme of the fun facts as we sculpt beauty, we will be going in to our member induction ceremony. Now, with that, I am going to ask our Vice President of Membership, Alison Blakeman, to please come forward and conduct same. Alison, over to you.
Thank you, Madam President and Toastmaster of the day. And Dr. Sunny, as Sergeant at Arms, can you spotlight myself and Annie? Thank you. All right, fellow Toastmasters, it is now our duty and privilege to induct Annie Martin into Online Presenters Toastmasters Club. This is an important occasion for both Annie and for our club. She has come to Online Presenters Toastmasters seeking to improve her communication, leadership, and online presentation skills. We now have an opportunity to help her learn, grow, and achieve her goals. Please hold your applause until the ceremony is completed. Annie, you are joining Online Presenters, a club within a worldwide organization that has helped more than 4 million people learn to communicate more effectively. As members of Online Presenters Toastmasters Club, you will benefit from a proven program of self-development. You will become part of an outstanding group of people who are dedicated to helping one another in a spirit of sharing and enjoyment. As experienced Toastmasters, my fellow Toastmasters and guests, we are now tasked to help Annie to get off to a good start within Online Presenters. Membership in this club and in Toastmasters International is a privilege that carries with it many rewards. Yet it also places certain obligations upon you and us. We are a group of people brought together to do things we could not accomplish alone. Our collective obligation is to grow and improve ourselves, to share our knowledge and experience with our fellow members in a spirit of enjoyment. This means that you must work diligently toward your own self-development, evaluate other speeches in a spirit of support and sharing, assist the club in reaching our goals, remain positive, and keep a smile on your face. We ask you, Annie, our new member, to dedicate yourself to personal growth, to share this great gift with your fellow members, and to help keep this Toastmasters Club strong and dynamic. Annie, do you, Annie Martin, in the presence of your fellow Toastmasters of the Online Presenters Toastmasters Club, make this firm obligation to attend meetings regularly, prepare fully for each assignment, to apply yourself to the projects outlined in the Toastmasters education program, to participate actively in our club meetings, to evaluate others in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with your fellow members, to invite other new members into the club so that they can also gain the benefits of Toastmasters?
I do.
Thank you, Annie. Would all club members please turn on your webcams if you are able to and join me and state our club's pledge to our newest member, Annie. Okay. We, the members of Online Presenters Toastmasters Club, pledge to support you, Annie, in your quest for self-development, to provide you with positive, helpful evaluations, to maintain a friendly, supportive atmosphere, to give you opportunities to help others, and to make your Toastmasters membership a rewarding and fulfilling experience. Congratulations, Annie. As the VP of Membership for Online Presenters, it is my pleasure to officially welcome you as a member to our club. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you very much, Ali. What a fabulous induction.
Woo, 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 woo.
Welcome, Annie.
Welcome.
All right, Annie.
It's always fun, exciting, amazing, and quite beneficial whenever we have new members inducted into our club, because they provide new life, new opportunities, and new people to help us to do roles and new perspectives. There you go. Now back to more fun facts about the statue of David. Now, did you know that he's actually taller if at home? Now, if you have slightly old guidebooks, you might find that the statue is 4 meters and 18 centimeters in height from the base, with it included. But the measurement made in 2000 with new technologies have updated the number. It means that he grew, raising the height of David by over 1 meter and bringing it to 5 meters and 17 centimeters. That's 16 feet tall, by the way, and 11 inches. Wow, that is very, 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 I was told not to do that as a Paul Spiller. So I'm gonna say it is an extreme feat. Get it? 16 feet, extreme feat of height. We're gonna move on in our agenda to our role players. Now for today, our role player who will be in charge of doing our timing is, get this, our timer. Andrew, could you explain what the timer will be doing in our meeting today?
Yes, certainly, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. I'm your timer. My role is to time prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluation. And the standard timing we have today for 3 speeches is 5 to 7 minutes. So when the speaker has spoken for 5 minutes, they will take this green light on my screen. For 6 minutes, yellow; for red, 7 minutes. The speakers would have 30 seconds to wrap up after the red light is on. A slightly different timing for table topics is 1 to 2 minutes and 2 to 3 minutes for evaluations. So please pay attention to my screen on top of our screen in order to be able to take part in voting, so you can win by only following the time. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you to our timer. And we will also be having our tip of the day. Now, our tip of the day is actually the next segment that will be presented by our Sergeant at Arms, Sunny Fridge. Dr. Sunny, what's our tip for today?
All right. Joni, as you said, on this day in 1504, Michelangelo's statue of David was unveiled. But here is the amazing part. He didn't start with the perfect block of marble. The slab had been abandoned by 2 other sculptors and left outdoors for 40 years, cracked, brittle, and scarred with flaws. Yet Michelangelo saw what others could not. He said he simply saw the angel in the marble and carved him until he set him free. As public speakers, we too are sculptors. We chisel away at fear, doubt, and imperfection until our best selves emerge. Let me share 3 lessons Michelangelo's masterpiece teaches us, each illustrated by the journey of an inspiring speaker. So we take a look at Michelangelo's David. Wow, Imagine it took so long to do that. But here is tip number 1. You want to see the potential in the rough block. Michelangelo spent months studying the flawed marble before he made a single cut. Likewise, speakers must prepare and refine their message before stepping on stage. Take Oprah Winfrey, for example. Earlier in her career, much earlier, she was told she wasn't fit for television. What? Imagine if she had believed that. Instead, she kept preparing, working on her craft, and finding her authentic voice. Oprah saw the potential in her rough block and carved herself into one of the most influential communicators of our time. Tip number 2, don't let those flaws stop you. The marble had cracks, holes, and awkward gouges. Michelangelo didn't discard the flaws. No, there was no type of effigy during that time. He worked with his flaws. Now, think of Malala Yousafzai. As she was a young girl, she was violently silenced for speaking up for girls' education. But instead of letting that flaw, her near-death experience, stop her, she turned it into strength. Her voice became more powerful, reaching the United Nations, and it won her the Nobel Peace Prize. Like Michelangelo, Malala carved beauty out of brokenness. And finally, tip 3. It took Michelangelo 3 years to complete the David and 40 men to move it into place, as President Joni probably said earlier. Masterpieces take time, effort, and support. And the same is true for Ed Tate, world champion of public speaking. As a child, he stuttered so badly, he avoided speaking in public, but he kept chiseling through Toastmasters, competitions, and relentless practice. Today, he's a world-class speaker who inspires audiences worldwide. So remember, fellow Toastmasters, great speakers aren't born, they're made. And like Michelangelo, you and I are sculpting something beautiful every time we prepare, practice, and persist. So here's my call to action. This week, I challenge you to choose one rough edge in your speaking, whether it's filler words, pacing, or eye contact, and chisel away at it. Little by little, you'll carve your masterpiece. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you for that tip of the day. And since we have our call to action, the beauty of Toastmasters is you don't do anything alone. But before I get into the members of the team who will be assisting you in refining your overall presentation and allowing you to take up that offer on the call to action just given, I have another fun fact for you. Did you know that the right hand of the statue is actually disproportionately large compared to the body? Why? Because in the Middle Ages, David was commonly said to be of manu fortis, strong hand. Well, I've been known to say that I have a strong hand as well. So fortunately, that's why we have a team with a softer touch for you today who will be assisting us with refining our speaking skills. We will start off with our account grammarian, Sarah Idehen. Sarah Idehen. You see, you're a grammarian, you can put correcting your name there. Please let me know your role.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. As all counter, I will be looking for those crutch words or filler words. So, you know, all of those words. So I'll be listening very carefully for that and keeping track. As grammarian, I'll be looking for the use of the word of the day, which is effigy. And I'll be hoping that we'll use it at least 5 times. I'll also be looking for grammar and language uses, highlighting exceptional language. And when called upon, I'll give my report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much for letting us know what your role will be today. We also have a watcher. What's a watcher, David?
A watcher, wait for it, watches. So it would be my idea to observe everything visual that's happening here that either adds to or potentially detracts from your presentation, and hopefully get more of the former than the latter. I'll give a little report at the end.
Thank you, David, for watching us and providing us with that feedback later on. Now, as we're an online club, we also have a special role called a chat monitor. Our chatty chat monitor today is our newly inducted member, Annie, who will bring some fresh eyes to the chat. Annie, please tell me what you'll be doing.
Well, interestingly enough, as chat monitor, I will monitor the chat. And I can already see different types of messages coming in. Some of them are informative, some of them are cheeky, some of them are congratulatory. And I will be looking to see if I can group them into those basic areas, or there might be more areas emerging. I don't know. I'm new to this role, but I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Looking forward to how you bring your presence to the chat monitor today and your report at the end of the meeting. Now, the final role is the vote counter, which will be done by yours truly. It's important to vote. Why? So that we know who everybody likes, right? Or at least who was most popular among us, who had the most connection. And I'll be doing that via our handy dandy website. When the speeches are over, you will look in the chat. You'll see a link that's posted. Click on the link, vote, 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 vote for best speaker, best evaluator, and our best table topic speaker as they are presented. So we're going to move into our prepared speeches, but we know we've been doing fun fact. So here's one more. Location is everything. Now, originally intended to be placed high up on a facade of the Cathedral of Florence, the beauty earned the David a more prominent and less hidden place. A commission of illustration artist Leonardo da Vinci and a couple more people that I will not bite my tongue in saying their names was formed to decide the ideal location for this sculpted beauty, as it couldn't be hidden. Though I do think it started out as an effigy. Now, the placement in front of the main entrance of the Palazzo Vecchio, and please correct me if I am wrong, because I know I'm not doing Italian very well, was favored by members of the new government who transformed the David into, get this, a political statement, an image of strong government and a warning. So what started out as beauty can sometimes be politicized, but fortunately it was made into an effigy based on that. So one more fun fact down, and we are on to our prepared speeches. Now, our first speaker for today is Kirthikka Venkataram, and she will be doing her strategic relations, level 3, increasing your knowledge. And she will be doing focus on the positive. Chaotic story that inspired to become the best. Please help me welcome Kirthikka Venkataram.
Thank you. Thank you. You never know why certain things happen to you in life. One such thing was my marriage. This is far ahead to accustom your lifestyle that culturally becomes a debatable one, wrapping up one onto their knuckles. India on average has 30% of people living in metro, and the 70% live in urban area. It doesn't have to do with satisfying your parents. Marriage is not that. It doesn't have to be socially stigmatic, or it doesn't have to promote your social status and bring yourself upward, showing that you're married. Marriage is one's hope to evolve the relationship. Two individuals who stay apart come together in a relationship, having a commitment and responsibility. Some might think shifting priorities, economic condition, and growing individualism might turn or transform the way that we see relationship and marriage. It's quite not the case. It depends upon one's values and beliefs. I was a girl of laughter. I was a girl to mend my time with people happily, who won heart of hearts, but turned into a girl to rise from the dead. It was just rainy days. All of my marriage days were just rainy days. It wasn't rain and shine. It was just to rain and then to shine. In good part, it recoiled my friends, foe, and relations. It recoiled myself to overcome the tribulation of life, compensating with nothing in return, actually nothing in return, encountering a dangerous future, a disrespectful and disgusting environment, bringing relapse for a blink of an eye, and never rejoice. A fine fiddle. I never thought I will be always playing music. I will have a time for myself to play music like this now. I was one of the persons selected for the prestigious Doordarshan for singing. A completely high-spirited person. I never thought I will mask myself to hide me who I am. I was brought as a clover. I never thought I will hide my elegance into shade. I always wanted a colorful life, but not at the cost of giving my value and pride. It holds good to every single woman. It's just not the rainbows. It's the colorful rainbow that's spread across, which could be sculptured as an effigy, as my kid has done to me like this. Throttling my career when I was in deep waters gave me a lot of confidence, but at the cost of losing people. Let's refresh my memory. Here are my parents. They had a beautiful married life. They have been living, fighting together, gelling, loving, sharing everything together for more than 40 years. These were my grandparents, celebrated Golden Jubilee at my home. These were my great-grandfather. They reached a Platinum Jubilee celebration by the time they died. Why should I have to say this here? I was an independent, colorful girl. But how did my life change after marriage? Made me to project certain things, which gave me the confidence to speak out, to nurture certain things, to bring out the truth. And one of such thing is this. I'm happy to share my learning, my career trajectory that gave me a lot of insights and confidence where I could bring or bridge whatever might be the situation that could be handled. And that's this. Do you know what is this? I'm just sharing in a while, and that's this. Let me give you a quick look of what it is. Technology always fails me, but that's okay. Here it is what I learned, and that is this. People don't want what you make. They want the way it will make them feel. And there aren't many such feelings that you can choose from. But how can you choose that? It's by the way that you can choose something like this. The way that others see you, the way that is known to yourself, the way that people see you is quite different and it's quite different. If you just check it out, what I had was the blind spot about me. What I had was hindering me to project what I am. But the public knowledge, what people see from me and what people know about me has transformed my way of thinking, my way of projection, and the way that I have the capability to fly above the cloud. What made me to transform to this level is to slightly change the value that is known to others but unknown to self, to shift as a public knowledge. The core identity, the uniqueness that I have, which needs to be shifted to the public knowledge. This identity, brand, the value, the belief system that one has to oneself, transforming it to a way that others believe in you, makes you as a wholesome individual and makes you as a person of trust, of trustable, and a person of creating wonders around you. And that is how you are made. And that is how the effigy of Kirthikka Devi Venkataram is made. Over to you, Joni.
Thank you for that, Kirthikka. And I do believe that you made an effigy of the red card in the second meaning, not the first one, but you gave our timer the opportunity to have the red card as an effigy up for all of us. But we'll be moving on to our next speaker. Our second speaker is also focusing on the positive. So today is not only about sculpting beauty, but focusing positively. Our second speaker, Graham Cairns, will be doing his level 3 in presentation mastery, increasing knowledge, focus on the positive. I am positive this is bad for me. I'm positive this is bad for me. Please help me welcome Graham Cairns.
Toastmaster Joni, fellow Toastmasters, guests. One of the things when you're doing a presentation is that there is an evaluation form, and the evaluation form for pretty much every project says this speech should not be a report on the contents of whatever the project is. In this case, the focus on the positive project. And I'm going to ignore that and tell you what the purpose of this speech is, because I need to do that for you to have context for what I'm going to say. The focus on the positive project asks speakers to record their feelings over a minimum of 2 weeks. It's a journaling exercise where we are asked to write down how we are feeling, what makes us feel positive, what feel not positive, and we're supposed to record that for a minimum of 2 weeks. As you can probably tell by the background, I'm currently on holidays in tropical far north Queensland. I started this project a few weeks back. I did a week of journaling on how I felt at various times during the day and what I was doing at various times during the day to make me feel that way. But then I came on holidays and I've been on the road or in resorts for the past week or so. But I've still been journaling. And it's really interesting to see the difference in my responses from when I'm sitting at home to when I am on the road and on holidays. When I was sitting at home, my primary form of entertainment is the computer. I spend most of my time on my computer. We don't watch a lot of television anymore. We have 70-inch television in the lounge room, but we rarely go out there because I have my computer in front of me. My wife has her computer in front of her. We sit there back to back, and sometimes we even chat to each other via the internet because it's easier than turning around. But I spend most of my time on the computer. Doom scrolling, I think, is probably the appropriate term. Somebody once pointed out that we have in our pockets small devices which contain the entire knowledge of the world and all its history. And we use it to look at cat videos and argue with strangers on the internet. Well, I find when I'm sitting at home, doom scrolling, I do a lot of that. And I've been taking notes of what I feel. And I have to say, the more I doom scroll, the more doom I feel. But in this last week, I've been on the road. I have not been listening to the news because, well, basically, I'm not working. I don't have to. I don't care anymore. That's not true. But because I've been listening to a lot of music on Spotify, we had a playlist that was supposed to last for 28 hours and we've listened to it a couple of times, but I haven't been listening to news. I haven't been even turning on my laptop except for meetings like this one. And so I have not been doom scrolling. I have still been journaling, and I have to tell you, I have felt much happier. I have felt much more positive. I have felt much less Sturm und Drang than I would normally feel. Until yesterday. Yesterday we decided I really should catch up with the news. And so a radio network that I used to work for, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation's news radio, which does 24 hours of nothing but continuous news, not information, not opinion, it's just straight news. And I was listening, and I listened for probably an hour and a half. And in that hour and a half, I found myself getting more and more depressed, more and more angry, more and more yelling at the radio, which is probably not appropriate when you're driving at 120 kilometers an hour down the highway. And so I put it back to my music, and I felt much better. So what's the observation that I can make about this? Well, that listening to news makes me angry, but that doom scrolling is bad for me. It is bad for my mental health. It is bad for my view of the world. And one of the things I should tell you that in Australia, all veterans, even if they only ever served a single day in the armed services, all veterans are entitled to what's called a white card, which is a healthcare card. And as part of that, we're entitled to get mental health support. I have well, I call her my therapist. I think officially she is my psychiatric coach who calls me once a week and just makes sure that I'm not getting depressed, that I'm not suffering from melancholy, that I'm not one of the 1 in 2 veterans who has mental health problems. And she calls me, and most of the time I'm really happy. But every now and then I have to tell her that I'm feeling depressed, that I'm feeling melancholy, that I'm feeling not so great. And it's because I have been doom scrolling. And so the solution I have is to stop doom scrolling. Am I going to do that? Well, quite frankly, probably not, because it is still my primary form of entertainment, seeing what is happening in the world via social media. What I am going to do as a result of checking this focus on the positive journaling process is limit my time, is be more careful about getting depressed, be more careful about getting melancholy, be more careful about getting angry. Doesn't mean that I won't continue to use social media, but I am going to limit my time. How about you? Do you find yourself spending too much time on the socials? Do you find yourself watching, whether it's Fox News or CNN, whether it's whatever media source you have, do you find yourself watching that and getting yourself more and more angry? Think about limiting your time. Something else I would suggest, and a quick show of hands here, if I may. I mentioned before that this project, this focus on the positive, asks us to journal for a minimum of 2 weeks. It is a project, a level 3 project, which is available in virtually all paths. Can I get a show of hands? Who here has done the Focus on the Positive project? Who here has heard of the Focus on the Positive project? Who here has looked at it and thought, no, I don't want to do that. That's all Pollyanna stuff. I don't want to, yeah. Can I suggest, even if you're not going to do it for your current path, take a look at run a week or so just on your life. Doom scrolling, socials, watching television. It may not be a solution for you, but it's certainly worth something considering. Toastmaster Joni.
Thank you, Graham, for that focus on the positive spin on, are we going to stop doom scrolling? Probably not. But hey, it might be a contributor to the depression speech. Look forward to your evaluation later on. But let's just say sometimes the reality is the reality. You're probably depressed because life is depressing. Focus on the positive, though. Life is depressing. Might just be the right way to say it. So we're going to be moving on to our next segment. But before that, we have a fun fact. Now, you heard it in the tip of the day about the change of address. I know this is there because I'm going to throw to the Table Topics Master. They didn't actually throw the statue, but wouldn't that have been fun to watch if they did? It actually, when the decision was made to move the statue of David to the Academia Gallery for preservation reasons, that was taken in 1872. The transportation of the colossal work took place in a cart laid on train tracks from Piazza del Signoria to the museum. And it took, get this, 3 days. Now, based on that, I am about to throw control of the virtual space over to David, our Table Topics Master. Please help me welcome David.
Thank you, Toastmaster Joni. How many would you like tonight? 3, 4, 5? What do you think?
We have enough time for 5.
All right. Well, our word of the day is introduced as just being about a carving, about a statue, but I can't see that word without thinking burned in effigy. Apparently, Donald Trump, Margaret Thatcher, a number of other famous politicians have been at some point burned in effigy. There's also a different kind of effigy of Donald Trump. There is a giant blimp of Donald Trump as a baby in a diaper holding a phone to his head that has toured the country at time. I'm told it's actually in the Museum of London for some reason. At any rate, so my question to you is, what is it that you would like to see burned away or laughed away in your culture or your life that would make things better? Sherry Blake.
Thank you so much for that question. Something that I would want to see laughed away, burned away, I have to say hatred. I have to say hatred because we have a lot of that in the world today, right? And I would love to see that burned away. I would love to see that go away. I know I'm being overly optimistic, but I would love to live in a world where we are all at peace and we're all happy with each other, not necessarily agreeing, and we don't even have to want to be friends or to be around everyone, but as long as we're people who are accepting of other people, even if you disagree. I mean, there's so much for us all to live for and to strive for in life. And I just think that peace and harmony are some good things to strive for. And I know, that's a perfect world, right? I mean, we all go through our ups and downs and our highs and lows and our happy moments and sad moments. But there's just so much hatred in the world these days, especially here in the US. I can definitely speak to that firsthand. And if we can just all just accept each other for who we are. And like I said, we don't have to agree with everybody's thoughts and perspectives in life, even our religious beliefs. We don't have to agree with those things. But if we can just wash away hateful thoughts and people who are just being hateful. I don't want us to wash them away, but or maybe I do know, but I'm just kidding. But if we can just get rid of all of that in this world that we're living in, I think we can probably live in better peace and harmony. I think it can reduce stress and it could maybe reduce ailments that we have because stress leads to sometimes poor health conditions. So that's what I would like to just kind of wash away. Back to you.
Right, wonderful. This next question is going to have sort of the same bottom line. I'm just going to get there a little bit differently. Michaelangelo said, or is supposed to have said, that the way he created the statue of David was he chipped away everything that was not David, and then David was revealed. What would you like to chip away from your life, your work, whatever, that would make things better? Annie.
Thank you, David. Yes, I have heard that phrase too, and I've always found it very profound that he removed every single thing that was not David, and somehow he could envisage that there was a David there. I wonder whether many of us could relate to that the best, and maybe I can relate to that the best if I make it a bit more personal, that there is a child there that becomes layered as they grow. So all of us put on those extra layers, which may not be exactly that child. Hopefully, not all of us, but hopefully that was playful and very free and inquisitive and innocent, and all of those beautiful things that we know if we've been parents or grandparents or just know any little kids, all of those things that they do so very well. So how to chisel away at all those things that aren't that beautiful child. And I think part of that is to get back to a bit of silliness and a bit of play. And I'm going to have to tell you, I have to confess here, I'm obsessed with my ventriloquist doll, and she makes me play, and she helps me every single day to chip away the things that aren't really me, and to connect with a real playfulness and she's 6, so I don't tell many people about her. Mind you, you're very lucky here. But now that I'm a member, you can't get rid of me. So yeah, she just does all of these amazing things and speaks as that child, as that very fresh, naive, beautiful, innocent child who asks those gorgeous questions. And for me, I think she's like my little girl, and I never, ever know what she's going to say. I never know what's going to come out of her mouth. Nothing is scripted, and very freeing. So there you go. There's the tip for all of you people. Just have a think about it. It's not weird at all. Over to you. Thank you for the question, David.
All right, wonderful. Yeah. Somehow it seems a ventriloquist doll, so like a block of wood is teaching you these lessons. That's great. Or maybe it's not wood. I don't know the exact construction. I'm just imagining. I'm going to show something, and the person who I pick on is going to tell me what they see in this image, a little bit about what they see in this image. This is artwork by Dale Chihuly, who is an American glass artist. We have a bunch of his glass somewhere here in South Florida. This is at Fairchild Tropical Gardens in Coral Gables. And just take a momentary look. What do you see there that's interesting? Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. What I saw in that photo was chaos, and especially the colors, the orange and the yellow, which could also mean anger. But chaos is what we see sometimes when we are not really paying attention to ourselves as to who we are and what we expect of ourselves. And then when we look outside, we see just chaos. But maybe that chaos is sometimes within us. Maybe we haven't really set our values really within ourselves. Maybe we're kind of wishy-washy with what we think and what we believe. I like the colors of it with the yellow and the orange. I like that it was in the midst of greenery, which maybe was a garden with other beauty in the garden. But to me, it just brought chaos. And it was kind of like when I was talking to my granddaughter and I went in her room and I just asked her, what do you think? I said, do you believe God created the heaven and the earth? And she said, yes. And I said, well, do you believe that maybe we have the sun in the sky and the moon in the sky? I said, do we ever see the sun on the ground? And she said, no. I said, that's because it's order. But when I come in your room, I see chaos. Nothing is in place. Nothing is where it needs to be. Can we please do this together and get rid of some of this chaos? And I was happy that she said, yes, Grammy, we can do that. And that's what we did. We got rid of the chaos. So when I think of that yellow, orange, and all of that in the midst of that beautiful green garden, looks like greenery, then I just think about chaos, and we can just take control of that chaos.
Wow. I think I have to have Granny come over and help me clean my office, or tell me that I have to clean my office. But the next question: what is your favorite 3D art form, and why? And let's go with Dr. Sunny. Your favorite 3D art form and why?
3D art form. I'm not sure I don't have any favorite 3D art form, but I can tell you, I do enjoy going to museums, and I need to go to them more so that I can have a better answer next time. But as I look around my office, it would be probably not good if I stood up and went and grabbed some of my art that I have. What I can tell you is I have against that wall a picture frame. It's a digital picture frame. And for a fee, I can have any picture from a museum from around the world. So one day, Mona Lisa is staring at me. Another day, something from I'm trying to think of all the other artists at this moment, but so much beauty, so much art, and it almost looks really real staring at that digital frame. And when I do look at that, although it may not be my favorite, it brings me joy. And it is beauty. Sometimes I look and I say, wow, how did they do that? Art is not one of my talents. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know that I have 3D. I was looking around for something I could show you, but I am surrounded by art. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And now, coming soon, beauty will be in the AI of the beholder. And I'll give you an answer about that type of beauty another day. Back to you.
All right. All right. Thank you, Sunny. If you were a sculptor, what would you sculpt? Jim Barber. Would you sculpt a button to push to unmute yourself?
That is exactly what I would sculpt, Mr. Topics Master. You caught me on a different screen, and I had about 5 screens open, and I was trying to find the right one to close. I could not do it. What I was thinking is that I would sculpt a better table topics question or a better table topics answer. But you hit the nail on the head, which is probably what I would sculpt, a big nail. You hit the nail on the head by saying that I would sculpt a button to push to get me out of the predicament that I was in, because I was trying to let you behind the scenes here. I was trying to set up a background for my evaluation of Joni, and I was going to have her picture show up right over here in the background. This does not occur magically. It would be awful nice if I could just simply punch a button and Joni's image would show up over there. It doesn't work that way. There's all kinds of things that I have to do with paint, and I have to do screen capture, and I have to do all these different things. It does not happen magically, and I definitely was not planning on answering a question while I was doing all of that from Table Topics. But the whole purpose of this is to keep one on their toes, and I was keeping you kept me on my toes, and that is possibly something I could sculpt as well, which would be a toe. Actually, now that I've thought about it, I think that is what I would do. I don't know why, but I have a particular fascination with toes, specifically the big toe. I think the big toe is a magnificent piece of anatomy, and if I were going to sculpt something, I think I would find the perfect piece of marble like Michaelangelo did, and I would sculpt a gigantic 16-foot tall big toe. And that would be my pride and joy. That is what people would come around the world to see, the big toe by the sculptor Barber. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
All right. Wonderful, Jim. I am so sorry that I messed up your whole evening and all the magic that was going on in the background. But we're gonna have to see that big toe looming over South Florida, be taller than the Guitar Hotel. Anyway, Mr. Timer, how did our Table Topics contestants do? Was everybody within time is sort of the short answer. I see they're posted in the chat, and I think the answer is yes. And so everybody can be voted on for Table Topics Speaker of the Day. Back to you, Toastmaster Joni.
Thank you for that, David. David, do you happen to have a strong, unusually large hand? Just checking that we're not talking about the same David. Thank you for that. And as we roll into our next segment, check the chat. The link has been placed for us to vote for our best Table Topics speaker. Now on to our last fun fact of the day. Now, there are many copies of David one of them was given to Queen Victoria, who had it shipped directly to the Victoria and Albert Museum in London in 1857. Now, Queen Victoria then visited the museum and was shocked by David's, get this, that little box isn't supposed to be there, by the way. It's my version of what they did, but what they did was they put a special fig leaf, and that was then cast by the London firm D. Bracani Company, ready to be hung from two hooks strategically placed in front of David's little square box in case of visiting dignitaries, one being in England, sent as a gift from the Grand Duke of Tuscany to Queen Victoria in 1857. Now, sometimes art may be beautiful, it may be politicized, it may be inappropriate based on social standards, but it doesn't make it any less popular, even for royalty. So with that, I will turn over to our big toe sculpting 60. I'm still on a 16-foot big toe question sign. What will that look like lit up in the night? Who knows? But he's here to tell us about it. Help me welcome our general evaluator, Jim Barber.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And it's now time for the evaluation portion of our meeting. We had two official speakers this evening, and we have two official evaluators, and we have a third speaker and evaluator that we will also include in our operations. But before we get to that, our first speaker was Kirthikka, and we have evaluating her, well, we are privileged to have evaluating her, our newest online presenters member, Annie Martin. So Annie, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. And thank you, Kirthikka. It is indeed a pleasure to evaluate you. Didn't she look beautiful? Standing up there, dressed gorgeously, beautiful background, colourful. So we are online presenters. That really that struck me, how well you prepared for that and how beautiful you looked, if I may say. And you're colourful, bright, and your smile was gorgeous. Your pace is very good too. So I like the way you're not rushing through your speech. And there were parts of your speech that were quite poignant as well and touched on some matters that were more difficult. I'm going to confess I was not catching all of your words, particularly in the first half of your speech, but maybe that is because I'm yet adjusting to your accent. By the second half, I was getting there. So just give me time around that. But I really loved the way when you were able to turn a bit of a negative into a positive by showing us how to respond when something doesn't go well at the end. At the very end of your speech, we could see you were waiting for that technology to get right up there and help you. I love the way that you stayed calm, you smiled, you made a bit of a joke about it, and you just, what we all have to do when technology doesn't go our way, just remain calm. I am cutting to the end of your speech because I do want to talk as a point of recommendation about that final slide. When it did come up, it almost could have been a speech on its own. It was really intriguing and a lot of information all at once. I would love to see your speeches, which often can have so much in them because you're so well prepared and thought so much, to be separated out and have less content. That final slide in itself could be beautifully presented to us with different layers coming up of values, and maybe the values part of that grid would come up, and then the identity and the knowledge. So we could see it layered. I thought that could work really beautifully for you. The second recommendation is around the photographs you showed of your parents and grandparents. They were too small and there was a glare and I wasn't catching them. Maybe just show one photograph, a big one, just of your parents. That could have got that message over to us more clearly. But Kirthikka, the way that you prepare, your clever use of words, your beautiful use of your props becoming your metaphors. We had your mask and your bow and your rainbow. So really beautifully done the way you had prepared. and throwing in things like, you know, sculptured as an effigy. So once again, we're seeing all that preparation that Kirthikka does for all of her speeches. So in summary, my gosh, you looked amazing. You stayed really positive when things got difficult. Consider the amount of content you've got and reducing it. And also think about showing us photographs if you can make that clearer. Again, less information in the photographs may be better for us, but I loved your preparation and your clever, beautiful use of props and metaphor. Congratulations.
Thank you, Annie. I was enjoying your evaluation so much I forgot I was the general evaluator. All right, back on schedule now. Our second speaker was Graham, speaking to us from the future, and we are lucky to have serving as a guest this evening, but that's not holding him back. We have Todd giving us his evaluation of Graham's presentation. Todd, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator, for that warm introduction. It is indeed my pleasure to be Graham's evaluator for this level 3 project, talking about being positive. What I really liked about the way Graham started off was that he went over some of the salient information that needed to be put on the table in order to understand the following presentation. Sometimes we get the Toastmaster to do that and set up a situation, but he was able to blend it marvelously into the speech and then allowed us to see what I thought was a very creative way. Instead of doing 2 weeks back to back in the old drudgems, he basically did one when he's on vacation and when he's not on vacation. And by doing that, he was actually able to see himself at his best and maybe at not quite his best. And what he really did well was he was able to be authentic and engaging by being sincere and honest with the club. And I think when members of a club are able to be their real self, that's when they can get the best support from their club mates, because everybody's here to support each other. And I thought that by, giving those little tidbits and those little stories, like their secret, he's letting us in on a secret, that allowed us to have intrigue and, kind of a deeper understanding of Greg as a member of the club. So those parts were really, really good. I also think Graham has a really natural humoristic / comedic in aura around him. As he's speaking, you just want to hear more. It's not like, a boring, monotone, no energy kind of presentation. He seems to be very vivacious. He seems to be able to elicit a lot of emotions by his word usage. And I think that's something that we underplay when we create speeches, is what words evoke the emotions. And I think if we listen to his presentation, there were certain words that just, tickled my ear and wanted me to engage and be more ever present. So I actually had to sit in a choir location. I could show you a picture of the throne, but I figure this is not my speech, it's his speech. So I thought that to challenge him for the next presentation, maybe if he could have shown us the journal that he wrote in, like just the outside of the book, and pick it up and say, this was my demon for the last 2 weeks, or this is my savior. And I thought one other thing that was missing was possibly people who sometimes are in a dark place or a funk place, by giving back to others or writing about gratitude, that's when they can blossom again, because they can be of help to others. And I think that's the human condition, to be of help to others and to leave a legacy. And back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, just number one, for visiting our online presenters club this evening, gracing us with your presence. But thank you especially for stepping up and saying, hey, I'll evaluate this evening, and providing such a quality evaluation to Graham. Thank you so much. I hope you will come back again sometime. Our third presentation this evening was not exactly a formal speech, rather it was, are you hearing me? Are you?
Yes, we are,
Okay.
but we're not seeing you.
You're not seeing me, I know. Something has gone wrong. I'm not able to work that out. Anyway, we'll see what I can do. As long as you can hear me, that's the important part. The third prepared speech, so to speak, was Joni's efforts at being the Toastmaster of the day this evening. And since she is the Toastmaster of the day, and it's not a formal prepared speech, it's only fitting that her evaluation should be done by the general evaluator. So let's see if that helped any. It did not. I don't know, something has really gone wrong. Let me try to, well, no, you don't need to see me. You just need to see Joni. I'll continue. Technology, as we've seen before. Joni did a great job as Toastmaster of the day. Of course, you've done it before. You've always done a great job, and you continue to do the same thing tonight. You started with your welcoming yourself as the Toastmaster of the day. You were the club president, you're the Toastmaster of the day, but you didn't just say, hey, I'm also the Toastmaster. You introduced yourself, you welcomed yourself to the virtual lectern. That was nicely done. It was a playful, in the spirit of the thing to do, nicely done. I like that, and it just carried throughout your entire presentation. The sculpture of David. This was an inspired choice of theme. We come up with different themes for online presenters, but so often, or sometimes I should say, the theme is ethereal. It's not anything that we can actually see. And it's so nice. We are a visual club. That's the thing that makes us different from other clubs, is you see what's going on. And so it was awful nice to have a theme that people could look at. And I liked that. That was a good choice, and you handled it well. You were informative. You were entertaining throughout your entire thing. You gave us interesting facts that I think some of us didn't know some of those things, and it was really good to learn. We enjoyed that. It's difficult to be educational and entertaining at the same time, but you managed to do it. Congratulations. That was so nice. I did have a suggestion for improvement. I thought, oh, okay, I got it now. I know what's going on. As the Toastmaster, your primary responsibility, other than being entertaining to the group, is to keep everything moving on time. And I thought, oh, Joni, you've done it now, because you were supposed to start, the first speaker was supposed to start at 7:56 according to the agenda, and you didn't start until 8:09, 13 minutes late. Now, granted, we had a tip of the day. We also had a member induction, and that you couldn't control those things, but nevertheless, you could control what you were talking about. You could have cut out some of your fun facts or something like that. I was going to give you a hard time about doing this. However, we also, excuse me, did not have a speaker number 3. You are in essence speaker number 3, and we didn't have a prospective member speech. So we actually ended up 2 minutes ahead of time by the time that we got through with our speakers. So everything that I was going to tell you about better time management, never mind. You worked it out beautifully. Everything ran along perfectly. And quite frankly, Joni, you give a textbook demonstration of what the Toastmaster of the day should be doing. You've done it before, and you did it once again. You are a pleasure to observe. And I now return control to our general evaluator, me. You can't see me, but I am here. I'm going to see if I can. No, I won't even try to do that. I'm not going to mess with it. I am here. No, I'm waving my hands, and that's not coming through either. I'm completely frozen. As long as you can hear me, that's the important thing. It is now my opportunity to summarize the meeting. You can get rid of the red light, Andre. I can see you. All I want to do is simply say what a great job we did this evening. Joni did a terrific job, as I've already indicated, as Toastmaster of the Day, but I want to give special recognition to our tip of the day by Dr. Sunny Fridge. That was very, very nicely done. I know I just said very, very, but I had to give the grammarian something to pick on. And it was just nicely done, Sonny. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to everybody. Thank you especially to Todd for stepping up and being an evaluator this evening. We all came together. It was a great meeting. Wonderful way to welcome Annie to the club, and I'm looking forward to future great meetings. And with that, I, as general evaluator, I will, as general evaluator, pay attention to the thing. I also need to ask for our different reports. Before I do that, though, let's see. The timing showed up in the chat. I see that. Do we have has the vote counter, has the vote request shown up in the chat? Did it go past me? If it has, cast your vote for the better evaluator this evening. And while you are doing that, I'm going to ask for our various reports, starting with David. You are our watcher this evening. David, what did you see?
I particularly want to remark on how much I enjoyed seeing Kirthikka without a virtual background, in this beautiful smile, beautiful dress, jewelry, paper masks, little paper cutouts. And actually, I disagree a little bit with Annie. I thought when she held up the picture of her parents, I didn't necessarily need to see her parents. I need to see that she was proud of her parents, the emotional connection that was there. And it was so engaging that I was actually a little bit disappointed when you went to show slides. I don't think you needed them. I think you could have brought the speech to a conclusion without that, and it would have saved you from fumbling with them. And if you were going to use two different images, put them both in that same PowerPoint deck rather than switching between the photo viewer and the PowerPoint deck so that you can show them more smoothly. Graham had a wonderful Hawaiian shirt. Maybe it's not called a Hawaiian shirt. Maybe it's an Australian shirt. But whatever it is, it was fun. We had Todd, I don't know if you needed to be using the virtual background. Maybe you're trying to hide something back there that you don't want us to see. But with the unless you have your lighting perfect, a lot of times the virtual background doesn't work that well. And the hat was kind of like winking in and out of existence, so a little bit distracting. And then, of course, Jim trying to get a little bit too fancy with his technology and being completely covered up. We can all sympathize with having technology betray us, however. That's it. And Jim, are you in fact there?
How I think we move on to our counter grammarian while we wait on our GE to make it through the glitch apocalypse.
Okay, I will start with our R counter report. We did very well tonight. I didn't hear that many R's, but Andre had 3. Sherry Blake had 2 likes, like this, get rid of, just using the word like 2 times. David had 1 R. Joni, 1 R. And Todd, 1 R and 2, 1 and 2 R's. But we did very well with that. We also did pretty good on our word of the day. It was 8 times it was used. Sunny once, Joni 3, Kirthikka 2, David 1, and Annie 1. We did an excellent job. Tonight was a great night for metaphors. We had so many metaphors. We started with Dr. Sunny chiseling away at fear, then moved on down to Joni, and she had a strong hand, a softer touch, and she was bringing fresh eyes to things. Kirthikka was using a blink of the eye and flying above the clouds. Graham brought a new word, doom scrolling. Jim Barber used very, very, and nail on the head and kept on my toes. And finally, Todd used tickle my ears. And Todd also used in his evaluation, vivacious, illicit, marvelously. So we had good use of words and great use of metaphors tonight. Back to you, Joni.
Thank you. Now let's check if our GE Jim Barber is back on. All right, for our chat monitor, were we really chatty, Annie?
I think so. Yes, I enjoyed being chat monitor, trying to keep my eyes on what was happening. And I love the use. Well, it's a really important use of the administrative use of chat, you know, for the speech times and voting and that sort of thing. So that was one category I had, administrative. Also, it was informative. We found out that Todd was actually in a casino. He let us know that. Woohoo! So I think he's gone. He must have gone to place a bet, maybe. We also used the chat for many a fun fact about David, and I did enjoy that because so much information coming. It was lovely to have it written down there. It was great. And the fun facts were not about David Carr, however. Clarify which David they were about. It was actually that statue. Also, the chat was used for congratulatory messages, for speeches, and for various events. I love the way that happened. And also, it was used to be a bit cheeky. There were various things about Jim, whether he's talking about a toe or a toad. And we also learned the cheeky fact that Graham is going out to lunch with his 3D art. So there's many things that were fascinating in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Annie. And since we're over time and Andrew did place the times in the chat, let me, as vote counter, just state for our best speaker, well, there was only one because Kirthikka, unfortunately, had an effigy to the red card where it was held up, but she burnt it. And therefore, our best speaker for today is Graham Cairns. For our best evaluator, she came in with fresh new eyes, and as such, she won. Annie Martin won for our best evaluator. And for table topics, Sarah, you did not correct your last name, and I do not want to. Idahan. Sarah Idahan. Did I get it right, Sarah? And okay, all right, excellent. So overall, we had an amazing meeting and we are actually over time. Shame on me. So with that, I will now call this meeting to a close.